Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Mad Capper, and this is a video on Awaken Chaos Era. First off, I want to say a big thank you to my good friend TriggerHappyJon. He and I had an amazing stream last night. We did a collab for my first play of Awaken Chaos Era. It's been a meme, I know, on this channel and on Twitch for a very long time that I would never play this game. It was more fun to just meme that than actually mean it. But for those of you who may have seen my April Fools, not only did I pretend I was going to play and then April Fools it, if you watch the buffer to make it look like it was a 10-minute video, at the end of that I said, it's a double April Fools. I actually am going to try Awaken Chaos Era. We finally made it happen, and here it is. I tell you what, I did record the entire stream of the collab, which is about an hour and a half, including some fun little summons at the end. I had some pretty good luck. We absolutely did not buy a couple packs. Had our level 5 hype train. It was an amazing time. I will tell you right now that the Awaken Chaos Era community, though smaller than Raid, it feels like the Raid community was 3 years ago, where there was a small, tight-knit community, a small group of content creators and players that really stuck together, really celebrated playing the game with each other. It was a really fun time. However, looking back and kind of watching the stream, I'm not going to post that onto YouTube. Not because there's anything inappropriate. We made some pretty mature jokes, stuff like that, but nothing that couldn't be on this channel by any means. It's that it didn't really hold value other than the just general entertainment. If you want to watch it, I did not delete the VOD. The first half of the VOD will probably be muted because of content. What I might do is try to edit it and keep it on my Twitch channel so that you can watch that first one. If you just want to have some laughs and have a good time, watch me with my first play of Raid, or of Awaken Chaos Era. But I wanted to do a video on it and give you my perspective as a one day in. Literally, this is day 2 ever playing the game. Having spent a little bit of money, we're probably backing off on the money thing now for a little bit. We're just going to play through. I wanted to spend some money as a thank you to the hype train and to get some summons, and we had a good time, like I said. But here is my initial impression of Awaken Chaos Era. First and foremost, the game itself, its layout, its presentation. There's kind of 3 things you have to look at. You have to look at gameplay, longevity of play, and graphical interface. And I mean, you could look at other things like the UI and you could nitpick. The reality is, in the gacha game world, this is a solid contender. It has all the pieces you want. As you can see what's going on, it has its own sustainability. Now, a lot of people say, well, is this a free-to-play friendly game? And it absolutely is. But for me, the question is this a spend-friendly game? Because to me, I don't want to play a game that hasn't built into itself a way to succeed financially. That to me is important. I don't want to put my effort into a game that's going to be dead in a year because it didn't consider how it's going to continue to make money. Now, that can go too far. Raid Shadow Legends, perfect example, where you feel they're going too far on the money side. They've grown too big. They have too big. Raid has some 700 employees. Plarium does, right? So they need to pay those salaries. They need to keep those people dutifully employed, and the lights on, and the computers, and the network, and all the stuff, all the overhead they pay just to do that. Plus, of course, the shareholders want the bottom line. This is a game that's a much smaller group of developers and team, and that allows them to, I would say, grow at a slower pace than Raid's going to. They're definitely not advertising bullies. They're definitely not pushing really hard to play this game. But there is still a financial way, and that's what I feel good about. Is you look at the packs, and I feel the price points to me feel good. They feel good. There's nice cheaper ones. There's more expensive. You can see it's Canadian only. I do wish I could change it to the American because the exchange rate is always better from my bank than it ever is from a game's or Google Play's exchange rate. It's usually a couple dollars off, sometimes even more. But nonetheless, you can see if I want to whale out, if I want to spend, I can spend $60. I can spend 30. There's a bunch of $5, $12, $125. There's a lot of different things I can do and spend on. They are very nice. You see the free daily pack. They do give a lot of nice freebies as well. There's monthly cards. I did buy both of them. This gives you a lot for a fraction of the price. I also did the magic. It's a bit like a battle pass, which I think you can see right here, the magic pass. So this gives you, you know, if you're doing the elite, I did the elite plus, so I get these very bottom ones as well. So there are a lot of rewards that you can get, including a legendary champion. In this case, it's Hector. This, all this stuff is very strong. It's got very cool stuff. I will say you know, the rookie event, very similar to most games. It tells you what to do to earn those rewards. From that perspective, from the free-to-play to whale, you know, range, I think this game does a very good job. I think it caters to a low-spend tier, but allows people to whale out, but there's diminishing returns on the amount invested. And that's how it should be. You shouldn't just buy your way to victory. You should buy your way to speeding up, right? You want to be able to do in 1 year what other people have to do in 3 years. But there should be a diminishing returns to the amount you spend. So eventually, even the dedicated, loyal, low spend / free to play can catch up. And I feel, so far, 1 day in, it feels like that, especially talking to John and talking to some of the other great players and creators that were in the chat last night. I really got a good idea of that perspective. So from the general design of that, we're looking pretty good. Layout, I will say this is a little bit busy. It's almost too much. There's magic pass hanging down. Do we really need that there? The summon's a big bold thing in the way. It feels like there's just too much stuff going on the screen. It is a little bit busy. That can be a little bit off-putting to a new player. They don't know what to do. Am I supposed to talk to this guy at the bar? What does he do? Oh, he's a covenant. Oh, dear God, I need to know more. She wants to talk to me all the time. You just stop your judgy. Then, of course, you have the important stuff along the bottom. The index is nice. It is worthwhile going in there. You actually gain resources by checking this stuff out. See, you get a little 20, right? Just for checking it out, you get 20 diamonds. So be sure to check out and read your bio. It's kind of a big deal. It actually gives you good, solid resources to do that. I was going to do that later. So from this perspective, from the main screen, I feel like it's too busy. I feel like this is something that if they could have spread it into several, if they could find a way to split it up a little bit so it didn't have so much on the front page, I feel like it might be a little bit more friendly, especially when you're trying to do your advertising. Obviously, they want to make their money, so they got to have that. You know, you can see the growth pack and newbie pack, but it's not too bad. I've seen worse. I've seen more confusing, so this one isn't too bad overall. The next thing I want to talk about is the intuitiveness, and I think the intuitiveness is to the point where if you've played this game before, if you've played any gacha game before, it's fairly intuitive. You see, you know, the old exclamation mark to tell you. Some people use red dots or whatever. Obviously, I have something to worry about there. I need to go. I see that this means that there's champions that I have details. I can gear with better gear or stuff like that. Like, that's good that it shows that. I will say that one of the things that doesn't feel very intuitive is how to level champions. Once you do it, once you know, it's pretty self-explanatory. And in defense, it's not something that you need to do right away. It's not something that you have to jump in immediately and go, oh my God, I need to level my champions up to 6-star 60. But when you get to a point where you want to, and you get to the details, and then you get to here, you see Jelly is how they do it. It's not like Raid where you go in and you farm campaign over and over again for those high tier XP. This is your XP. You farm Jelly by every mean possible, and then you use that to upgrade your champions. And then the other thing, you know, food. So I can hit that and it'll upgrade and it gives me a level and all as well. I also will say that that's less important, it feels like so far. It's very similar to most. Just go into the campaign and do your thing and you'll get back to here. Once you get stuck somewhere, then you can worry about doing that section. And I will say, check out TriggerHappyJon. And I'm sure there's a bunch of others. I just met some of them last night, so I don't have links for all of them, but I'll mention Trigger's YouTube channel. You can go in there, and he's got some pretty good, solid guides to help you through the process. What I would like to see, and I haven't checked John's out to see if he has it, but I will be doing that today, is a solid, comprehensive starter guide. I think that's important for any new player. Anytime you're playing this type of game, especially a game that you are planning to put money into, you should have read or watched a starter guide, because you don't want to waste your money. Whales care a little bit less. They probably overindulge and spend, but a low spend, someone who's really trying to maximize value, you really want to watch those starter guides so you have a strong idea of how to run your account on a day-to-day basis. So that's from that perspective. As far as the adventure, I'm going to tell you the gameplay itself, mostly really good. I do have one thing to criticize about this, especially in the early game. I get that you're trying to present a story, but if you give me a story on every single level, I'm not going to read it. One thing Raid did very well is the story progression through their campaign, which is a small part. It gives you a bit of the lore. It gives you a reason for the game to exist. They did it after each zone. So you started in a zone. It talked about why you're going into here. You know, the Bannerlords were trying to stop the evil queen who'd been corrupted, blah, blah, those sort of things. And then at the end of that, after you beat that boss, it gave you the next part of the story. I think that was a way smarter way to do this. I am clicking way too much on these little blurbs that really I could care less about, frankly. Intuitiveness of picking your team, it seems at this point, and I'm so early in, team doesn't really matter. You want some good AoE. I do have a Hydressia, who is apparently one of the best legendaries in the game. I have Tia, who's really fun. I really enjoy her. And then I have a couple of other champions I have in there, and you just kind of learn and feel, and you get an idea of what you want to try to do. And again, right now the intuitiveness doesn't need to be there, but as you get up higher in levels and you start to really figure out teams to be able to beat something, then you're going to start looking, do I have the debuffs? Do I have the turn order? Do I have the right champions, mix of AoE, single target, nuke, stun, crowd control, all that sort of stuff. They do add spells, which are global use abilities that do not eat up a turn, and those are a big part of this game, so hats off to them on that. But I can probably at this point put any of these champions in, and I haven't really kind of looked at that point of it. I haven't really looked at how far to go and to level these champions up and stuff. I've just kind of been running through with my favorite looking champions. I did switch out Radira, got in there. And I think that's mainly because she has a heal. I think that's a reason why I did it, because there's one boss that I was just barely losing to. So I leveled up a couple champions, put her in, and you know, it's a fun, this part of it's fun. But again, I'm gonna say the biggest criticization I have about this in the initial campaign storyline or adventure, way too much dialogue, way too much of this. I don't care, I don't like too much storyline. I do like these attack animations because they're not as big as it. Like Epic 7 was a travesty, and there's one other game that had really big, and I can't remember what it is right now, that had really big ultimate attack things that you couldn't turn off at first. Really bad. I know you can turn these off, but they're so short that I don't mind having them on. At some point, I'm sure I'm going to turn them off, but as you try new champions in and you want to try new things, you probably want to keep it up just to see them. It's not of it, like, look how quick that is. It doesn't take up too much time. So they really did well with their ultimate animation, making something special out of it, making something cool out of it, without it being a 5-minute affair like the typical Final Fantasy, where you could set down your controller, go get a drink, maybe use a washroom break, come back, and you'd be halfway through the animation. Which in a single player RPG, I love that about Final Fantasy. But once you get all the champions and you've seen it, there's a point where you're like, oh god, okay, just skip through this animation, my lord. So I like that they did that really short. As far as the resources you get, I have not had an issue. I think you get a ton of resources. I think they do an okay job of kind of pushing you through and saying, okay, now here's how you upgrade artifacts. Here's how you... I will say that I think their order of things... I think I've already been introduced to the arena. I've already been introduced to dungeons and set dungeons, and there's a few different things they've already kind of pointed at. I think that would be better served later in the campaign, because you don't really need to go there yet. I think it should be at a point where an average account, a free-to-play account, would need to go, right? Granted, I've spent some money in this game already, so I do have a kind of a leg up. But even if I didn't, and I still have so much resources, I could level champions up higher to help me get through the campaign or the adventure mode without having to worry about it. So I feel like that stuff should have been pushed out. Same with upgrading artifacts. I feel like it's something that could have been explained a little bit later, because I blew through it and it didn't really make me feel like I had to, right? There's champions that I'm using right now that don't even have artifacts on them. I have one champion that has, I upgraded to 8 just to kind of see what difference. I don't know or feel like it's done a whole lot for me. And I know the later you go that's not going to be the case. So that would be one thing I would say, is that if they left some of that tutorial to a little bit further on when it becomes a little bit more important to do, so that people really are like, what do I do now? Oh, look, do artifacts, right? Increase your artifacts, equip sets. Here's how you do that. I think that would have made it feel a little bit more intuitive than it currently feels. I can't really speak to champion worth, though I will say that most people who are playing the game say they do an amazing job with the champions, and there's some really good ones. There's good synergies. There's champions that may not be the top tier champion overall, but are very good in specific areas. They do talk a little bit about affinity, which is a thing. I think, again, they probably talked about it a little bit too early, because I haven't changed my team, and yet affinity has never really been an issue for me. So I think that'll obviously become more important as we go forward. So again, I feel like that conversation was a little bit too early. I think the final thing to talk about here is the one detractor, the one other than the constant need to talk to me in the I can't tell you how much this drives me crazy. I don't want to have to click 20 times between every single stage. That's silly. You need to do it per campaign, per area. That's it. That's all. So maybe you can in the future. I mean, it's too late now. You've created this. This is done. But when you get to the maturity of your campaign or your game, where your major player base is already past that, and you're just worried about a smaller percentage of people coming in every month, maybe people playing second accounts, that sort of stuff, where you speed this up by removing the whole storyline into a condensed per chapter as opposed to per place. Just a thought out there. Last breath. That's kind of cool. Is that one of these? Yeah, let's put that in there. Not that I'm gonna die, but whatever. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. And this is the one area that I feel like A, is holding them back, but B, if they ever decided to focus their effort on it, they could do it without disturbing everything they've done right in this game. The part that I feel, and this is perfect, you get more talking, and it's the graphics. To me, the graphics feel really 12 to 15 years ago. They have kind of a League of Legends, World of Warcraft feel, but even in saying that, they don't have the same level of detail. And you have two types of players, and ultimately the best way to succeed in a game like this is to cater to both. There's a player who is very centric to the style of gameplay, and for gacha games, this is pretty standard. It works really well. They're doing a great job of it. It's the typical 3-level mob boss kind of scenario. See, I'm even talking in between the things. It's crazy to me. But they could really improve the graphics here. And I mean everything. The player cards, the backgrounds aren't bad. The backgrounds are fine. But the level of detail, even if you kept this style, I'm not talking about changing the style. I know that the reason why Raid Shadow Legends is so popular and works so well is because they have a unique style that other gacha games haven't gone. A lot of gacha games are going towards an anime style, like Seven Deadly Sins, Epic 7. Those games have that kind of styling, or I call it the Crash Bandicoot, the overly comical style. Dragon Champions is, I think that's called Dragon Champions is one of them. And then this, which is kind of a WoW style look, but the detail on her face, like for example, I think you could just over detail this way better and make it look cooler, keeping the same style of graphic, but just going for a higher resolution, higher detail. And I know that would probably require upping your game in your graphics department overall, and maybe that's why, but I think at some point it might be worth doing. If you take a look at Raid's progression, take a look at some of the original champions like an Arbiter and put that champion next to some of their newer champions like a Mithrala or a Lady Kimmy, and you see the progression of their champions within their own style. There are so many. Abbess is the perfect example. She looks absolutely awful, but then you look at some of the brand new champions that they put out and you're like, oh my god, the level of detail and intricacies and the extra attention they've done. And it's in the same game. They didn't change the game. They didn't go revamp all the old champions, though I argue they should. You could do that here. So at some point, I would like to see them do about a 15-year advancement in their graphics, not necessarily the style, but just in the overall attention to detail and care. Like right now, you see what she's wearing. It's a basic leather glove with banded wrap. It doesn't really shout out cool. The armor kind of looks chipped, but they could really do that better. Their lighting, how they create a light spot, which is how when you're building sprites, which player characters are a sprite, and you create your light source to show where your shading is going to go. I think that shading is a big deal and can be really done strong. Today's phones can handle that stuff and show it up really well. I just think that that's a big place that they could go here. And the graphics is honestly the one thing that held me back here. Like you look at this and you compare that, like it's a neat character. It's a character that could look pretty amazing. But you compare this to, one of the new champions, like a Mithrala, for example, and it's just an unfair piece. And if you look at what these are kind of modeled after, if you look at League of Legends, they've even kind of upped their game. Dota is definitely, Dota to Dota 2, and even the new champions, the new skins and stuff that they add in that game have really upped the ante on what they do and how they look and their, on their wow factor. And I think that's what this is missing, is that next level of wow factor. And maybe it's too early to worry about that, but I really hope that that's something that's in their radar, is to really up their game on their graphics, because I think this game is going to be held back by that, because a lot of people are attracted by the shiny object and then the gameplay keeps them there, and you need both to be able to run a successful game. And this game has so much potential to be successful that I truly, as I said, hope that that's where they go. So that's my final look on the game. Again, overall, I say it's a strong recommend. I think if you like this style of game, even if you're already playing Raid Shadow Legends or another style of game like this, I think this can easily fit into your play lifestyle, whether you are free to play or whether you like to spend a little bit of money or whether you like to spend a lot of money. In all levels, this is going to be a fun secondary game for you, and for many of you, it'll probably become your number one game. I know a lot of people who have done that, and there's no reason to say that this game couldn't be your mainstay for your mobile gaming or emulated PC gaming world. And so I fully this is the bit of sponsored. If you want to play this game, I have an LD player link. It'll be in the description down below. If you click that, it does take you to Awaken Chaos Era. If you download, install, and play Awaken Chaos Era using my link, I will receive a commission for that, and it'll really help the channel out and help me grow. Whether or not you're going to play it long term, at least you give it the opportunity to try. So feel free to do that. I appreciate that. Any help that you can give, I absolutely love you for it. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you for getting through this video. I hope it was informative, helpful, and just to give you an idea, gameplay 5 out of 5, graphics 3 out of 5, and overall design 4.5 out of 5. That's the type of game it is. I think you'll like it and enjoy it. So I hope to see you. I am Mad Capper in the game. Give me a shout and we'll see what happens. But thank you for watching the video. Please be kind, be safe. We'll see you in the next one.